A federal high court in Lagos has ordered the remand of two men for 15 days as the Nigerian Customs Service investigates an alleged attempt to smuggle high-caliber firearms and ammunition into Nigeria through the Tinkan Island port. The suspects, identified as Ejiogu Godson and Robert Eze, were ordered to remain in custody following an application by the Nigerian Customs Service, seeking more time to complete its investigation. The case raises fresh questions about how prohibited weapons can allegedly be concealed inside legitimate cargo and moved through one of Nigeria's busiest ports. Justice Friday Ogazi granted the remand application on Friday after hearing an ex parte application filed by the Customs Service through its Legal Services Department at Tinkan Island, Apapa, Lagos. The application, registered as FHC Lag CR 601-2026, was presented before the court by Customs Counsel Mrs. Kahinde Bode Ayeni. The Customs Service told the court that it needed additional time to investigate the alleged offenses, identify other individuals who may have been involved, and determine the appropriate charges against those already arrested. The application was brought under several provisions of Nigerian law, including the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, the Nigerian Customs Act 2023, and relevant provisions of the 1999 constitutions. Customs argued that there was sufficient probable cause to keep the two suspects in custody while the investigation continued. According to an affidavit filed in support of the application, customs officers began monitoring a particular container after receiving what was described as credible intelligence. The container, identified as Temu 1845369, reportedly arrived under the scrutiny of customs officers from July 8, 2026. On July 13, officers allegedly conducted an examination of the container and discovered firearms and ammunition concealed inside. That discovery reportedly triggered a wider investigation. Investigators subsequently arrested Godson and Eze, who allegedly provided information concerning other individuals suspected of involvement in the shipments. The custom affidavit further alleged that the suspect provided information about possible forgery and manipulation of custom records and documents. This aspect of the investigation could prove significant because authorities are not only looking at the physical movements of the alleged firearms, but also attempting to determine whether documentation was manipulated to facilitate the shipments. The alleged concealment of firearms inside the container also highlights a major security concern for Nigeria. Seaports are designed to facilitate legitimate international trade, but they can also be exploited by criminal networks attempting to move prohibited goods across borders. The challenge for customs and other security agencies is therefore not simply identifying suspicious containers, but tracing the people behind them and determining how such shipments were organized. According to the affidavit presented before the courts, both suspects allegedly made confessional statements under caution. It is important to stress that these allegations contained in the investigation documents and that the suspects remain legally presumed innocent unless and until a competent court determines otherwise. Customs told the court that investigators were still attempting to apprehend other individuals allegedly connected to the case. The agency argued that the investigation could not reasonably be completed within the constitutionally prescribed period of 24 or 48 hours because investigators needed to travel to other jurisdictions to recover exhibits and locate additional suspects. This was one of the key reasons Customs gave for requesting the 15-day remand. Investigators also expressed concerns that releasing the suspects could compromise the ongoing investigation. According to the affidavits, the two men were believed to possess information concerning the whereabouts of some individuals who were still at large. The Customs Service therefore asked the court to keep them in custody in the public interest while investigators worked to establish the full circumstances surrounding the alleged arms shipments. The agency assured the court that once the investigation was completed, formal charges will be filed and the suspects will be brought before the court for arraignment and prosecution. Justice Friday Ogazi considered the application and ruled that it had merits. The judge subsequently ordered that Ejiogo Godson and Robert Eze be remanded in the correctional center for 15 days. The court also adjourned the matter until August 25, 2026, when the suspect could potentially be arraigned. Depending on the outcome of the ongoing investigation, the case now places the focus firmly on what custom investigators could uncover during those 15 days. Who allegedly arranged the shipments? Who supplied the weapons? Where were the firearms intended to go? And were there other people involved in allegedly manipulating custom documents to facilitate the movement of the container? Those questions remain unanswered. The investigation could also reveal whether the alleged shipment was an isolated attempt or part of a wider network involving trafficking firearms through Nigeria's maritime routes. The importance of the case extends beyond the two men currently in custody. Nigeria has continued to battle insecurity involving terrorism, kidnapping, banditry, and other forms of violent crime. The illegal movement of firearms can potentially worsen this threat by making weapons available to criminal groups. That is why the interception of alleged arms shipments at ports remains a major security concern. Customs has previously carried out intelligence-driven operations targeting prohibited goods, but every major interception also raises questions about how criminal networks attempt to exploit gaps in the country's import and clearance systems. The current investigation will therefore be closely watched. If additional suspects are identified, authorities could move to arrest them. If evidence supports the allegations, the suspects may face formal charges before the courts. At the same time, the legal process will require the prosecution to establish its case with admissible evidence. The 15-day remand order is not a conviction. It simply gives investigators additional time to pursue the case while keeping the suspects in custody under the authority of the court. For the Nigerian Customs Service, the priority will now be established the complete chain behind the alleged shipments and determine whether anyone within or outside the port system assisted in the operation. For Nigerians, the bigger concern is what the alleged discovery says about the vulnerability of the country's borders to illegal weapons trafficking. As the August 25 court date approaches, attention will turn to whether Customs is able to complete its investigation, identify other suspects, and present formal charges against the two men. The case could become another important test of Nigeria's ability to detect prohibited weapons at its ports and dismantle the networks allegedly responsible for bringing them into the country. If you find this report informative, share it with others, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notification for more updates on major security, crime, and court developments across Nigeria. I'm Chidera Iso. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next reports.